how amazing it is. So this is absolutely true. Lizard is rightly lauded as one of the best eateries in British inhabitants and scale. And that word scale is really, really important. We have really large expanses of heathland, and that gives the creatures, plants, and the things that live in this space to move around. And also the abundance of rare species on the lizard. There are 500 rare listed species, which is absolutely incredible. So there's a species that we listed as threatened in some way with extinction in Britain. And so you can see the heathland map there. The heathland covers approximately 2,200 hectares of Lizard Peninsula, and 98% of that is designated in some way for its importance for wildlife and its importance internationally. And we have only, in inverted commas, lost 35% of our heathland due to it being seen in the past as a wasteland, unusable land. So what is heathland? It's in the name, heath. Heathland are places which are dominated by heathers, different heather species. On the lizard we have 5. So we've got ling heather, so we've got ling heather, Caluna vulgaris, belled heather, Erica cilia, and crossleaf heath, Erica tetris, which grows in the wetter heath. We've also got 2 very, very rare heathers. Cornish heath here, Erica vagans. This is restricted to Cornwall in Britain. It lives nowhere else in Britain, which is quite amazing. Pretty much only on the Lizard Peninsula across the whole of Britain. We also have the very rare Dorset heath in very, very small patches. And there are 2 species of gorse. A lot of our heathlands are very gorsey in Cornwall, and on the lizard that's no different. But those are dominated by European gorse and Western gorse. So these diverse places we call heaths, they're actually very cultural landscapes. The heathland comes about with landscape change. So it's often those places which we deforested and turned to arable land, grazing land, and then it was left for a period for the land to regenerate. And it's often the heathers then that come through to create this quite diverse landscape. And here's a good example of a really nice lizard heathland. So these are the wet heathland tracks that run across a lot of Goonhilly Downs. I don't know if any of you have seen these really nice ephemeral pools that dry out temporarily and hold some really, really rare species, plant and invertebrates. There's been a lot of work in the last few years to try and reinvigorate a lot of these trackways, to try and bring back that dynamism, the wet and dry, that drive a lot of invertebrate plant interest. Again, talking about heathland, one of the main reasons why heathland is again on the lizard, we've got that scale. And within that huge scale, we've got a good mosaic of habitats within heathland itself. So you've got dry bits, wet bits, pools, which aren't ephemeral, so these aren't drying up pools, these are pools that stay wet year round, which are amazing for, again, all sorts of invertebrate life. In the background there, trees. You know, the trees on the lizard heathlands are actually really important. They do create a different mosaic, and all of that coming together on the lizard heathlands is really, really important to create that. And my favourite, it wouldn't be me if I didn't talk about it, cliff tops, because cliff tops are the best by far. Maritime heath, much lower, wind pruned, grazed, we graze it well on the lizard so that the heather never grows quite as tall. And that means you get this really nice low sward, which is really, really important for those incredibly rare cliff top plants we have on the lizard. And again, invertebrates, but we'll talk a bit more about that. So some of the really rare plants we have: sawworts, louseworts, pale dog violet, tormentil, and heath spotted orchid. These are all of the sort of things you see in that mosaic of heathlands across Goonhilly and stretching out to the lower Danic banks and the coast. Some of the Kalmar lawns that you see, where things are a bit more heavily grazed, the sward is much lower, and you get this amazing long Kalmar lawns, which smell amazing when you walk over them. And then things are a bit more localised on the lizard. Green-winged orchids you see popping up in some of the grassland areas or some of the rocky outcrops on the coast. Bloody cranesbill, which you probably will have seen if anyone's been to Kynelands Cove recently. It goes all the way along the tracks, and there's amazing purple plant life on the cliffs. And of course, fragrant orchids, And then some of the mega rare things that live on the cliffs. Land quillwort, pretty much only found on Lizard in Britain. Strange little fern-like bark that grows in disturbed ground on rocky areas, and that needs that dynamism, that disturbance on those areas to grow. If succession was allowed, that could be completely shaped out, but it just wouldn't be. Twin-headed clover, again, on those rocky outcrops that you see on the cliffs, on some of the inland heaths. Only on the Lizard in Britain, pretty much. Spring squill, quite a localised plant in Cornwall, but again, at this time of the year, if you go to any of those cliff slopes at the moment, it is incredible carpet. Again, Tylan's Cove, Grays Valley, if anyone's been down to Grays, you can see just an amazing purple line of squill covering the cliffs. Hairy greenweed, this is a gorse-like plant, related to the brooms and the pea families. Another very rare part of the life rock. Adder, very common on the Lizard. Anywhere where there's a nice bit of dryish heathland, spaces for adders to pass, you'll see them. Not necessarily if you go to Woodlawn Farm on one of our walks, because we didn't see any when we went. It's absolutely typical. First time anyone I think has been to Woodlawn. It's common lizards. If anyone can get a picture of a common lizard, that's incredible, because I only ever seen tails disappearing into the heat. But again, on a sunny day like today, Groundswell and Lizard Heath look beautiful as they are. Silver-studded blue and grey. Two butterflies that are really scarce in